On March 17th, Rwanda cut its diplomatic relations with the Belgium. It's a decision that came nearly a month after suspending its developmental cooperation, still with the Belgium. Today, we are joined by the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Olivier Nduhungirehe, to discuss and dive deep into these issues. Welcome, Honorable Minister.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. Minister, if we get into the recent decision and the one that happened nearly a month ago, where is Rwanda coming from in making these decisions?
Thank you very much. For the past weeks and months, the Kingdom of Belgium has been mobilizing partners of Rwanda, economic partners of Rwanda in Europe with the European Union, but also in even financial institutions like the World Bank, telling them or urging them to cut development aid to Rwanda, which was unacceptable. And actually, this did not come only after the fall of Goma, because even before, Belgium had a negative attitude. You would remember that the European Union now is supporting the Rwandan Defense Forces in Cabo Delgado in Mozambique through the European Peace Facility, EPF. But Belgium alone in Europe had blocked that, delaying that decision by the European Union. And you remember that even before, they have refused to give agreement to our ambassador designate Vincent Karega on the instructions of Kinshasa. So they have that kind of negative attitude by Belgium for the past month, the past years, that led to the decision. And from all countries in the world, I think it should not be Belgium to behave like that, because Belgium has a responsibility in the history of this region, in the history of Rwanda, because it's our former colonial power. So from all countries, I think Belgium should actually not act as they act now against the interests of Rwanda, against the economy of Rwanda, against the future of Rwanda, because they have a responsibility in what happened in this country, in the genocide, 1994 genocide against the Tutsi, in even the current persecution of the Congolese Tutsi in Eastern DRC, because you know that Belgium, together with the other colonial powers, drew artificially the border between Congo, Rwanda, and Uganda in 1910, in May 1910, leaving Rwandophone people on the other side of the border. Those people were never accepted as Congolese, and they were marginalized, persecuted, discriminated against. All of that because of this action by Belgium, which has also moved a number of people from Rwanda and from Burundi to work into mining sites in Congo, in their colonies, Congo at that time. So it's a problem that Belgium created, not to mention their role during the pogroms against the Tutsi in 1959 and 1960s, and also what they did actually here in Rwanda during the genocide, where they left 2,000 people at Eto Kitukiro on 11th April 1994, and then who were almost all killed by the Interahamwe militia. So they have really a big responsibility in all the crimes that were committed in this region for the past century, so that they could not continue doing that, against our country.
Honorable Minister, Rwanda recalled its diplomats from Belgium and also gave 48 hours the Belgian diplomats to leave Rwanda. does that affect the Rwandans living and doing business in Belgium and Belgians doing business and working here that are not related to the diplomatic circles?
Not at all. That was a diplomatic measure that was taken. We have decided to sever our diplomatic relations, to close our embassy, to recall our diplomats, and also to expel the Belgian diplomats who are here in this country. So this decision doesn't affect Belgian citizens living here in Rwanda. They should continue living in Rwanda doing their business. And this doesn't affect, of course, Rwandan citizens living in Belgium.
Minister, what is in for Belgium to persistently rally against Rwanda for more than 30 years? A particular community?
I don't know. They must have interest in Congo, and they might have decided to sacrifice Rwanda to their interest in Congo. But we also know that there is a big Congolese community in Belgium who are now in political parties in Belgium. Even the party of the foreign minister has a huge Congolese community in it, including in the leadership of that party. So actually, there is a resolution that was adopted by the Belgian Parliament recently that was pushed by an MP from another party. So there is this issue also that is playing in this decision. But in any case, Belgium should not, as a country, as an independent country, should not act on the diktat of Kinshasa or the diktat of the Congolese community in Belgium.
The African Union, through SADC and EAC, are working to find a peaceful resolution to the crisis in the Eastern DRC. To what extent is the Belgian behavior affecting the ongoing process?
For us, the Belgian decision or behavior doesn't affect us because we are engaged in a process, a joint EAC SADC process since the summit of 8th February in Dar es Salaam, which decided to launch this process. There are several decisions that were taken during that summit. First of all, to call for a ceasefire, a cessation of hostility, to merge the existing peace processes, the Rwanda and Nairobi processes, to be merged into one, and also to relaunch the political dialogue between all stakeholders, including the M23. So this decision of Dar es Salaam was endorsed by the summit of the African Union Peace and Security Council, which took place in Ethiopia, in Addis Ababa, on 14th of February, and also endorsed by the summit, AU summit, that took place on 15th and 16th February in Dar es Salaam. And yesterday we were in Harare as a follow-up meeting, as a ministerial meeting that decided several things, including to ensure that the parties in conflict, mainly the government of Congo and the M23, meet at a military level to have a common understanding and to agree on the cessation of hostility, the ceasefire, and also we decided to task the co-president, the co-chairperson, who are the president of Zimbabwe, His Excellency Mnangagwa, as chairperson of the SADC, and also His Excellency President Ruto as chairperson of ESC, to work with the three facilitators that were designated already, and then to come up with a decision on the political engagement with all stakeholders. I think they have until 31st of this month of March to really work on, first of all, on the merger of the Rwanda and the Nairobi process, and also to expand the composition of the panel of facilitators to a fourth facilitator, because there was an issue that was raised about the lack of gender equity or in this panel, but also another concern that was raised by SADC countries, that they would wish to have a SADC member in the panel. So the two co-chairpersons will work on that. We'll work on that and then come up with a way forward until the 31st of March, and then we hope that now it would open the way to a political dialogue.
Yeah, that leads to a very successful political dialogue. You mentioned the military approach. How is it going to work out amid this, the existence of some EDLC?
The summit of SADC already decided to withdraw SAMI DRC. They have terminated its mandate and to gradually withdraw this force. One of the decisions that were taken by the Chief of Defense Staff, Chief of Defense Forces, in a meeting that they held in Dar es Salaam on 24th of February, is to deploy EAC SADC hybrid force on the ground, and also to have a verification mechanism of both communities. So if this process continues, I think we will have a security mechanism of the two communities to ensure that there is a ceasefire on the ground, which is implemented, while the political talks take place between all stakeholders in this conflict.
Minister, this seems to be leading to a positive progress ahead. But there seems to be a little bit of hardships with the sanctions coming from EU. And the M23 said they are pulling out from the Angola meeting because the sanctions are affecting them from traveling. What do you make of that?
Yes, this is what I called yesterday European problems to African solutions, because we always say that as Africans that we want African solutions to African problems. This is what we are doing in this EAC SADC process. Then we have EU and other Western countries that are targeting one party, imposing sanctions, and then we have what we had yesterday. So they took sanctions against the leaders of the M23 at the eve of an important meeting between the AFC M23 and the government of Congo. I believe this is irresponsible. This is what we have been telling the EU and other Western countries, that these sanctions will undermine the peace process in the region. They can harm Rwanda, but they will also harm the peace process. So they cannot, on one hand, say that they want a political dialogue between the M23 and the government of Congo, and then on the other hand, sanction the M23 and the M23 alone. It doesn't make any sense. If they want to be coherent, they would rather say that they don't want any peace process, and then they want a military solution. So this would at least be coherent. So it's important that those countries that are taking sanctions understand that it's important to support the African-led processes, and by supporting them, they need to avoid that kind of punitive measures that would undermine the process. So I think it's a responsibility that they need to take in order to facilitate all actors in the region.
Minister, when you attend these meetings with your fellow diplomats, and you present the threat faced by Rwanda. What's their reaction?
Oh, we have, it's not in those meetings only, even in the interaction we have with the European Union, with the Western countries. Most of them minimize the threat of the FDLR. They say that the FDLR, it's an old movement. The people of the members of that movement are now old because the genocide against the Tutsi took place 31 years ago. But what they don't understand, actually I think they understand it, and then they prefer not to listen, is that the FDLR is first and foremost an ideology, genocide ideology that was exported to Eastern DRC. And then based on that ideology, the FDLR has recruited new members. I think a few months ago we have even received young FDLR members who fled, who came, surrendered to Rwanda, and I think the oldest among them had 21 years. So the FDLR are still present in Eastern DRC. Not only are they supported, armed by the Congolese government, but they are also embedded in the army. You've seen the Brigadier General Ezekiel Gakwerere, who was handed over by the AFC M23 to Rwanda. This person had committed egregious crimes during the genocide in Butare. He's in almost all trials, all judgments of the Butare, the ICTR judgments for the genocide committed in that former prefecture of Butare. He is even accused of having killed the last queen of Rwanda, Rosalie Gicanda. But yet, he was handed over to us by the M23, not by the government of Congo, who he was in the military uniform of the FRDC. He was not even handed over to us by MONUSCO. MONUSCO, a force that was deployed 26 years ago to neutralize the FDLR. But they ended up collaborating with them, supporting a coalition that included this genocidal force, which is also sanctioned by the UN. So we found ourselves with a UN mission supporting a UN-sanctioned genocidal force, and this is unacceptable.
Minister, when you have plans and discussions to restore normalcy in the Eastern DRC, is there a plan to uproot the FDLR that are already embedded in the DRC National Army, FARDC?
Yes, this is what we have always been requesting to the DRC. We actually signed on 25th of November 2024 a concept of operations of the harmonized plan for the neutralization of the FDLR and the lifting of Rwanda's defensive measures. So even the DRC and the international community agree that we need to neutralize the FDLR. But the problem is the lack of good faith and political will of the Kinshasa government to do that. In any case, Rwanda has a security concerns on its border, mainly caused by the FDLR and the aggressive rhetoric by President Tshisekedi, who even recruited the foreign forces and European mercenaries around this ideology of overthrowing our government. So any solution to the crisis in Eastern DRC will have to find a solution to our security concerns. We need to have long-term security guarantees at our border with the DRC, because we cannot live 31 years after the genocide, rebuilding ourselves, promoting unity and reconciliation, transforming our country, transforming our economy, promoting women, promoting the protection of the environment, while at the other side of the border, we have the very movement that committed the genocide in 1994 that is being entertained, armed, supported by different Congolese governments to just come and undo what we did for the past 31 years. You can understand that we cannot accept to live the next 30 years under that permanent threat.
Minister, we can't talk about the crisis in Eastern DRC without mentioning Burundi that has its forces deployed there. What's the current relationship between Rwanda and Burundi?
We have contacts of the past weeks. We had contacts between authorities of the two countries to try to de-escalate the situation and then ensure that we have a common understanding. So those contacts are still ongoing. So I cannot dwell too much about their outcome. But what we want, of course, is to have the escalation with Burundi and also have peace in the region. Because as Rwanda, we are the first country in this region to want peace because we know the cost of the lack of the lack of peace. So this is why we want that we work together to address our security concerns so that we can focus on the economy, on trade, to reap the economic dividends of peace. This is what we want. This is why we have been attending all meetings aimed at finding a political solution to the crisis in Eastern DRC, because we believe that if we are motivated by, if we have good faith and motivated by political will, we can achieve that. But of course, all countries in the region have to demonstrate the same good faith.
Yeah, when you meet in the SADC EAC framework, where there's Rwanda, there's South Africa, there's Burundi, that at one point have had unpleasant contacts. Is there a push and pull on different sides?
No, the meeting of yesterday, for example, was a good meeting, constructive meeting. We didn't have any kind of accusations. At some point, the DRC wanted to include in the text, the final document, a language to accuse Rwanda of supporting the M23, but this was rejected by even the co-chair persons, because the mood yesterday was a mood of positive attitude, finding solutions to the crisis, and not to go into the usual back and forth between Rwanda and DRC.
You have Europe sanctioning officials within the region and different players. You have the African solution to African problems. How are you going to go about that to make sure that you arrive to where you want to go?
We need to make the Western world understand that they should not bring their problems to the solutions that we want to build. We have told them on several occasions that although in the resolutions or the decisions, they always say that they support Africa-led solutions and Africa-led processes, the action they take, the sanctions, the punitive measures that they adopt in the same resolution, in the same decision, actually undermine the very African-led processes that they claim to support. So it's a contradiction unless it is deliberate, because you can't support the Africa-led processes without fully endorsing the content of those processes. And in those processes, there is no blame game. There is solution-oriented decision and a solution-oriented approach. This is what we are doing. So they cannot do the two at the same time, sanctioning or taking punitive measures against Rwanda, but also claim that they want to support African-led processes. So it's a contradiction that they will have to sort out.
Yeah, Minister, as we come to an end, amidst the Belgians' campaign to isolate Rwanda internationally, how is Rwanda relating with the rest of Africa?
We are relating very good. We still have good relations with African countries because we are brothers and sisters. We are members of the African Union, which has a new momentum. You know that over the past years we have signed breakthrough documents like the African Continental Free Trade Area. Rwanda has been opening embassies in more and more African capitals. So we have good relations, and actually the fact that the EAC and SADC are now together in a process that was endorsed by the African Union is a sign that now Africa understand that we need to really work to finding African solutions to African problems, and that every decision or every noise coming from overseas, coming from Europe or North America, would just want to perpetuate the conflict that we have on our continent.
Thank you very much, Minister, for your time. To our listeners, we were joined by the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Olivier Nduhungirehe, and my name is Edwin Musoni from the New Times.